This is Daily Armenia, ＳիվիլՆեթ's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan met today with European Council President Antonio Costa and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels to reaffirm Armenia's deepening partnership with the European Union. Europe's top officials pledged continued support for the country's democratic and economic transformation. According to the press release that followed the meeting, the leaders welcomed the recent political agreement on the EU-Armenia new partnership agenda, calling it a milestone in bilateral relations. They praised Armenia's progress on democratic reforms and expressed full support for the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The EU also hailed Armenia's efforts in regional diplomacy, including peace negotiations with Azerbaijan and normalization talks with Turkey, while also reaffirming support for Armenia's Crossroads of Peace initiative. This project, promoted by Pashinyan's cabinet, implies the opening of transport links in the South Caucasus on Yerevan's terms, but has so far found no support in Baku. The EU confirmed its commitment to Armenia's long-term development, announcing that planned investments under the Global Gateway Strategy now total €2.5 billion. This includes the €270 million Resilience and Growth Plan that was launched in April, with €200 million in direct grant aid and €70 million to leverage private investment in key sectors such as energy, transport, and the private sector. Security cooperation featured prominently in the talks, with the launch of EU-Armenia security and defense consultations and a new €1.5 million fund to support independent media and counter disinformation in Armenia. Von der Leyen and Costa also thanked Armenia for its collaboration in preventing EU sanctions circumvention and welcomed Armenia's upcoming role as host of both the European Political Community Summit and the UN Biodiversity Conference. Separately, Pashinyan also met with Marta Kos, the EU's Enlargement Commissioner, discussing further steps for Armenia's integration with the bloc. Armenia's parliament approved a bill officially endorsing Armenia's EU accession in February. However, the authorities have stressed that this move does not mean Yerevan is submitting an official membership bid and acts more as a statement of intention. Yerevan and Brussels have since then worked together towards visa liberalization, aiming to ease or remove the need for Armenian nationals to apply for a Schengen visa before traveling to any EU member country. Russian-Armenian billionaire Samvel Karapetyan, currently held in pre-trial detention in Yerevan, announced today the formation of a new political movement, declaring plans to build a fundamentally new political force in the country. I have great respect for the political forces and figures who are still fighting against the policies of Nikol Pashinyan's government, but we have our own vision for the future of Armenia, Karapetyan said in a statement published Monday, adding that the new initiative will be open to cooperation with other opposition forces. Karapetyan, who owns the Tashir Group and is one of the most influential Armenian businessmen, was arrested last month in Yerevan and charged with public cause to overthrow Armenia's constitutional order. The arrest came shortly after he publicly criticized the government for targeting the Armenian church and its clergy. That criticism drew a sharp response from Pashinyan, followed by a search at Karapetyan's Yerevan residence. The arrest provoked discontent in Moscow, where the foreign ministry issued a statement saying it was closely monitoring the case, emphasizing that Karapetyan is a Russian citizen. Russian state media also aired harsh criticism of Armenian officials, accusing them of politically motivated repression. ＳiViLNet brings you the latest economic headlines from Armenia in its weekly business digest. This week we focus on raids by law enforcement in 51 locations connected to Samvel Karapetyan as part of a probe into alleged embezzlement, tax evasion and money laundering across the jailed billionaire's business empire. Earlier, Parliament passed a bill allowing the government to seize control of Armenia's main power distributor, which Karapetyan owns. You can get the whole story at the link in this video's description. And finally, the ＳiViLNet number of the day is 49,500. That's the permanent population of Armenia's southern Vayot province as of the end of the first quarter of 2025, according to the country's statistical committee. That makes Vayot the least populated of Armenia's regions, followed by Sunik and Tavush, which both have more than double the amount of people. And as always, please follow ＳiViLNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.